Here we have our last objective in the linear relations unit. So we're dealing with solving problems using a linear relation. So here's where you get into the world of word problems. So as you see here, we have a word problem, and it's about making a linear equation from the word problem and then solving it. So this word problem is: the student council is planning to hold a dance. The profit in dollars is 4 times the number of students who attend minus 200 for the cost of the music. So the first question says, write an equation that relates the profit to the number of students to attend. So we first kind of want to talk this out. So I'm going to put the words that I know. So profit in dollars, and I'm going to write this as an equation. So equals 4 times the number of students who attend, because it's $4. So 4 times the number of students who attend, minus $200. And when I look at this, it looks like it's a $4 ticket times number of students who attend minus $200 that they need to pay, like the DJ or whatever. So we need to think about, now we kind of have to set our variables. Our variables don't have to be X and Y, they can be other things. So we're going to set our variables. So we're going to set P for profit. So that's going to relate that, okay? And then we're also going to set, we have to set another variable. There's always going to be 2 variables in a linear equation. So we're going to set N is equal to the number of students who attend, because we don't want to write all those words out every single time, so we want to make it shorter. I always say that mathematicians are lazy, so we need to find short ways to write. Students who attend, and that will represent this part here. Okay, now, so once we got that set, let's kind of shorten our initial kind of statement here into something a little bit more manageable. I'm actually going to change my pen size a little bit. So we're going to have profit. And go back to black. We're going to have profit is equal to 4 times N, because now number of students who attend is N, and P is profit, minus $200. This is also similar to saying what we're used to, which is Y is equal to 4X minus 200. These are the same things, okay? But when word problems, we kind of want to set our own variables. We don't have to use Y and X, so we can kind of do our own thing here. So there, we've created an equation that relates the profit to the number of students who attend. That part's done. Now it asks us to create a table of values for this relation. So the X value, in this case it's the N, goes first, and then our P value goes second. And you can choose any numbers. We're thinking about a dance here, so we have to think about what are some values that we'd want to use. We have a dance of students, so what if no one attended? Well, if no one attended, if we look at our original equation here, and if we said no one attended, well, if we put 0 in for that equation, we would get 4 times 0 is 0, 0 minus 200 is negative 200. So our first point would be that. Well, it's a dance, let's say maybe 100 people attend. Well, what happens if 100 people attend? Well, our profit statement is still the same, so this time we're going to go 4 times 100 minus 200. So this is going to be 400 minus 200, because 4 times 100 is 400, and then that's going to be positive 200. Well, that's a little bit better. We don't want to lose money on our dance. And let's just do one more point, because you usually want to do 3 points when you're doing this. Let's just pick, I don't know, let's just pick 200. It's easy. So that'd be 4 times 200 minus 200. So 4 times 200 is 800. 800 minus 200 is 600. So there we have a table of values. Your table of values doesn't have to be big. You can just have a few points. And in this case, We want to pick positive numbers because you can't have a negative amount of people attending a dance. You got to be realistic with what numbers you're putting into your equation. You can't have negative people. So that's that part. Now, the next part of the question says for us to graph the data in a table. Does it make sense to join the points? So there's actually kind of two questions here. So let's first graph the data, and I am just going to freehand this, and that's okay. But for you guys would probably want to have a piece of graph paper. So I'm going to have my graph, and I'm going to just kind of keep it in quadrant 1, and I'm going to label my axis like 0, 100, 200, 300, and then my profit, I'm going to go up again. I'm going to go up by 100, 200, 300, and we actually saw in our table of values that we can actually have negative profit, especially if no one comes to our dance. So we're dealing with quadrant 1 and quadrant 4 here, right? We're not going to be dealing with quadrant 2 or 3 because we can't have negative amount of people. So we're going to plot our points. So 0 and 200. So if no one shows up, it's going to be 0, 200. Then the next is 1, 200, 100, 200. And the next is 200, 600. And I might want to add just a couple more here. And then get that graphed. Okay. So, and it's not perfect because my freehand drawing of this wasn't perfect, but that's okay. It's fine the way it is. But the second part of the question, so go back to the top here, the second part of the question says, does it make sense to join the points? Explain. Well, if we join the points, it means that every single point on that line is valid. And you have to remember what your axes stand for. Your x-axis is your number of people, and your y-axis is profit. Well, money, you can have parts of money, but you can't have parts of people. So for this one, you can't have a fraction of a person attend a dance, right? And that's what it would mean. Like if you were to join this, that means that every point along this line is valid. We can't have a fraction of a person. Like we can, like if this landed on 50, yeah, sure, but what if it landed on 50.5? You can't have a fraction of a person, so we can't actually join them like that. So this doesn't make sense. This is still a linear relation. It's just not a continuous linear relation. So you can't join the points. And that was on your pretest talking about, does it make sense to join points? You don't always join points. Last question here says, how many students have to attend to make a profit? So basically, when do you break even? You can do this a couple of different ways, but I think the easiest way is thinking, well, to break even, it's right here. So it's actually when y is equal to 0. Okay, so keeping that in mind, we go back to our original question, which is profit is equal to 4n minus 200. We want to figure out when does our profit break even? So basically, when is our profit 0? And this is going to be going back to our last unit. I mean, we can kind of tell if we look at this graph that it looks like it's around 50, but let's just check. So we want to move the 200 over, and this should be ringing some bells from last unit. So we have 200 equals 4n, and then we divide by both sides by 4. And yes, in fact, 200 divided by 4 is 50, so 50 equals n. So 50 people need to show up to break even. And there you have it. This is how you solve word problems. You need to start with writing out the words into an equation, set your variables, and then you graph it like you would. And you have to think about this as a real life situation. So then you can't always join your points. And you can always interpret information from the graphs as well.